All right, good day, everybody. Welcome to Reach for the Firefighter Badge, Episode 11. This is Steve Prziborowski. Episode 11, we're going to discuss, you want to become a firefighter? Do you need a college degree? Simple answer, no, you don't. But nothing in life is simple. So let's get started and let's share some thoughts and ideas for Episode 11 about college degrees. As I always like to start out with, and I share these websites not because I'm trying to shove anything down your throat. I mean, please don't take it that way. My apologies if that's the impression I'm giving. I'm a resource. If you haven't figured that out by now, hopefully you do. I'm a resource. I like to really help people. I really have a sincere passion to, number one, help people get hired, help them stay hired, then help them get promoted and stay promoted, and then ultimately be the best they can be throughout their career, regardless of their rank, and then ultimately have a nice, happy, safe, healthy retirement. So that's my goal, my passion, my love, my enthusiasm, and so forth. So when you see my websites, I'm not selling anything per se. It's all free stuff. I mean, I could probably be charging for these webinars. Don't know if anybody will be watching them, but I could probably charge for them. But I'm in the mindset that I enjoy paying it forward, giving back, and sharing the experiences I've had over the years with others that want to be the best they can be. So my two websites both have free stuff linked with tons and tons of articles I've had published or documents I've published or other links to other valuable things. So ChabotFire.com, a lot of entry-level preparation, and then Code3Firetrain.com has a lot of promotional preparation as well as officer development information. And ultimately, if you want to become a firefighter, you're not just checking out the entry-level firefighter stuff, but you're also looking at the other information because, as I shared, especially in the last episode, don't just prepare for the position, scratch that. Don't just prepare for the test, prepare for the position. And I think that's where a lot of people really fail. So if you're preparing for the position, you're not just preparing to be a firefighter, you're preparing to be the best damn firefighter you can be. So keep that in mind. These webinars are based on two of the three books I've had published. Number one, The Future Firefighters Preparation Guide. Number two, Reach for the Firefighter Badge. Both of them are distinct and they complement each other with a lot of valuable information to really help you be the best candidate you can be. So talking about educational requirements for fire departments and whether college is even important or not. If you look at any firefighter job announcement around the country, I don't care if it's the East Coast, West Coast, North, South, Midwest, Pacific Northwest, whatever, probably 95%, I'm just guessing, 95% of departments only require a high school diploma or a GED or something equivalent to a high school diploma to apply to become a firefighter. And you may think, they don't require college? Most don't. You're going to realize, if you haven't figured that out by now, that the more requirements a fire department has, meaning really translates to the less applicants that they have stepping up to the plate. And that's really what it comes down to, because if a department were to require high school diploma, 2-year degree, 4-year degree, whatever, volunteer experience, EMT, paramedic, firefighter 1 academy, there'd be like 5 applicants. And you may go 5, well, maybe 25 at the most. So again, the more requirements we have, the less applicants. And most governmental agencies enjoy the ability to pick from a lot of different people to choose from. Because think about it, we don't hire resumes, we hire people. And a lot of people think that, well, why did that person get hired? I got a master's degree in this, and I've been a firefighter on the job with the Bakersfield Fire Department for 10 years. That person didn't have a college degree at all, didn't even have a high school diploma. They had a GED and they were a supermarket worker at Safeway. How the heck did they get hired above me? Well, maybe if you have that, think about it. We hire people, not resumes. That person obviously got hired because of the ability they had in that oral interview, that 8-minute oral interview, or maybe 10 or 20, 30-minute oral interview. They had that ability to connect with the panel. Maybe that person that's bitter right now because why did that person get hired? Maybe that baggage or that bitterness showed up in their interview. There is no entitlements in this industry. So it's about the oral interview and about you selling your personal characteristics, your positiveness, your positive character traits, all those good things to a department that is willing to take a chance on you. So again, most departments just require a high school diploma or GED, so they have a bigger applicant pool. Sometimes though, you'll look on a job application and they may say highly desirable or desirable some college units. You know, maybe 15 college units in fire science or fire technology or public administration or something close. Well, just because they say it's desirable or highly desirable doesn't mean it's required. I mean, and it doesn't mean that those are people that get hired. Because again, it always comes back to the oral interview most of the time. So just because you have all this stuff on your resume doesn't mean you're the best fit for the department. And fit is a word that is evaluated and used. So again, college is important, but it's not the end all save all. But anyway, that's pretty much most fire department educational requirements. On occasion, it's rare to see a department say, hey, required 2-year degree in something. It just doesn't happen. Now, when you're on the job, and if you're looking to become maybe a captain, a company officer, it's more and more fire departments across the country are requiring 2-year degrees for company officer positions. If you want to be a battalion chief who supervises the company officers, battalion chiefs, definitely common to see at least a 2-year degree, and in some departments like mine, a 4-year degree requirement. Want to become a fire chief or assistant or deputy chief, 4-year degree is pretty much the expectation around the country, with maybe master's degree desirable. But again, let's focus on getting you hired first. But here's the thing, if you are planning on maybe promoting up the ranks, and again, it may be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road in your career, now's the time to get your education done, because once you get on the job, it's easy to get comfortable in the recliner, situated. Maybe you now get a family, you get kids, second job, a lot of passion, a lot of travel, a lot of enjoyment out of the extracurricular activities. Guess what you don't have time to do or desire to do at that point? Go back to school. So don't be that person, and it sucks, and I'm not faulting anybody, but I see these folks that are in their 40s and 50s that all of a sudden, I want to become a captain. I want to become a battalion chief. What do I got to do? Well, you got to get a college degree. Huh? I graduated high school 20 some years ago. I don't want to go back to school. I don't have study habits like I used to have. It is what it is in today's world. So, you know, take the time, if possible, to try to map out your career. I mean, nothing goes according to plan. I mean, I thought I'd be a fire chief today, but I'm a deputy chief, and that's a great thing. I'm not complaining by any means. There's days I want to be a fire chief, and there's other days where, hey, what, being a deputy chief is not a bad gig. You know, they all have their challenges, but especially fire chiefs are very challenged these days, as are department heads in general across the country. So, but I've got the qualifications. I've got a master's degree. Doesn't mean I'm the best candidate, but I'm qualified if I want to take that promotion. I think that's the key. It's even if you may not want to promote at some point, it's nice to have something in your background, in your portfolio, your resume. Break glass in case of emergency. If I need that degree, I got it. If I don't ever become a fire chief, no big deal, but I've got valuable education that I am happy and proud of. No one can take that away from me. Now, talk about why get a degree. If you think about it, a firefighter is a blue-collar job, and there's nothing wrong with that. Firefighters work with their hands typically on task-related stuff. You know, hand tools, power tools. That's what a firefighter does. You know, obviously we work with our brains and our hearts, but eventually we work with our hands, and we have to be comfortable with the mechanical ability stuff. So you may think, why a degree for a firefighter? Yeah, there is no requirement. That's why I said most departments don't require a degree for firefighter positions, usually just the officer ranks, the leadership ranks. But regarding degrees, the college degree won't necessarily get you, disregard that. That was a slide that did not get deleted accidentally, so disregard the previous slide. The college degree won't necessarily get you the job. And like I said, most departments are not going to require it, and even if they say it's highly desirable, it does not guarantee you the job. However, the reason you get the degree is that it's going to help set you up for success for future promotional opportunities, and you'll also learn numerous things your future fire department will never be able to teach you. Think about that. You may just want to be a firefighter, and that's great. Nothing wrong with that. Not everyone is meant to be a captain or a battalion chief or a deputy chief or a fire chief. I mean, the higher up the organizational chart we go, I mean, think about it. Most people, you ask them, why did you get hired as a firefighter? They don't say, well, to drive a desk like Steve does. You know, I'm deputy chief. I drive a desk like the other deputy chiefs, fire chief, assistant chief does. That's what our job is. Battalion chiefs are in the buggies supervising the crews at the stations. Captains supervise their crews on the fire engines, the fire trucks. But the key is that degree taught me a lot of things that my department will never be able to teach me. And I'm the training chief. So if anyone's going to be faulted for not training enough, that's me, because falls on my shoulders. But the college degree teaches you a lot of things. Think about it. If you can get a degree, you finish what you started. That says a lot right there, because so many start college or start something in life and they never finish it. I mean, many start things, few finish things. So number one, you can tell a department, hey, you know what? I was able to finish what I started. And you think about it. Yeah, you're going to learn some core classes. Like if you get a fire technology degree, for example, you're going to get valuable information on the fire service. Well, to me, a lot of the value is not just the core fire classes, but all the general education classes, because the general education classes like the math, the English, the psychology, the history, the geography, whatever it is, political science, those are all beneficial too. I mean, if you really think about it, you may not think, oh, I just want to be a firefighter. Well, yeah, but you learn so much, not just finishing what you started, but you learn a lot of soft skills, as I've talked about in other webinars, soft skills, because college requires you to be doing those soft skills, communicating with others, oral communication, written communication, interpersonal communication. Soft skills require you to be a problem solver, a decision maker, using critical thinking. You know, all these things that you may go, I just want to be a firefighter. I just want to fight fire, save lives, wet stuff and the red stuff. I get it. But even a firefighter of today needs to be a problem solver, a decision maker at times. Yes, you follow orders as a firefighter from your company officer, but you still need to be able to be a critical thinker and not just, what do you need me to do, Captain? Okay, no problem. I'll go throw the ladder, pull the hose. You got to have a brain. You got to also have a heart as well, too. So that's a lot of things that you're taught in college. Now, I'll be the first to say, just because you have a degree, 2-year degree, 4-year degree, master's degree, whatever, doesn't mean that you're the best person. Hell, it doesn't mean that you're the smartest person. Sometimes the best officers I've seen and best firefighters are those with no college education. And you go, huh? And they're all street smarts, no college education. And some of the not so smartest folks, the ones that have college degrees. I don't mean that from an academic portion, but from maybe a street smart portion or ability to play nicely in the sandbox with others, because it's a people job. The fire department, like any other governmental job, is a people position. You have to work with others, serve the customers, work with other people at your own rank, above your rank, sometimes below your rank. We have to play nicely in the sandbox with others. So colleges do teach you a lot of those different things. There's different types of colleges. Brick and mortar, the traditional school that was really in place up till about 10 years ago, where online schools came on. So online is not for everybody. The current coronavirus pandemic that we're all dealing with in various forms and fashion have pretty much pushed the brick and mortar schools to do things online. I teach at Chabot College in Hayward. Thank God my semester class, I teach the Fire 1 Intro to Fire class, January through March. We finished up school like about, I think the same day the shelter in place lockdown took into effect, thank God. I mean, I'm not saying that's bad or good, but from my aspect, I've tried online teaching. I've tried being an online student. So I've done online from both sides. I'm not a fan of online. Maybe it's because I'm old, set in my ways or whatever. I mean, we still do some things online, but it's just not for me. And the interesting thing is this pandemic situation, which has forced a lot of things to go online, like Zoom meetings, conference calls, no in-person type of stuff. We're finding out, at least from what I'm seeing, this online stuff isn't cut out to what I think a lot of people think it is. But I also get there's a place for online, because think about it, depending on where you live around the country, your closest brick and mortar school for a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree could be hours away, and that's just unrealistic. So I get the need for online out there. Now, if you're trying to find an online EMT program, paramedic school, firefighter academy, hopefully those schools, which they should, hopefully those schools have some in-person components, meaning there are some things you can do online, like read up on certain things or take tests online, but you still got to do the skills in person. So buyer beware. And I know there's a lot of great schools out there. There's a lot of not so great schools out there. A lot of people go, hey, Steve, which school did I go to online? You know, there's Columbia Southern, there's Waldorf, there's American Military University, there's Kaplan. There's insert name here. There's tons of them out there. I've talked to people that have gone to virtually every one of those online programs, just like brick and mortar, and everyone's got an opinion. Some liked their experience, some didn't like their experience. So really, as I tell people, find the one that works for you. Just like paramedic schools. We recently discussed paramedic schools in one of the previous episodes, and everyone goes, which is the better paramedic school, college or private school? I go, the one that meets your schedule, the one that you can afford, and the one that meets your schedule, because they all have different schedules. So if you're one of those people that can be disciplined to do something online, and I've known firefighters to actually get their degrees from the firehouse because they spent their valuable time at the firehouse when they're not doing fire department related stuff. They're doing their time doing their papers, doing their discussion board posts, getting their degrees. So when people say, I don't have time to go to college, I've got a family, I've got kids, blah, blah, blah. That was a great excuse when those brick and mortar schools only, but with online programs, that's taken those, it's taken the excuses out of the mix. Because yeah, you may have a family, yeah, you may have a fire department to work at or a job to work at, but with things online, at least from my experience, you don't have to show up at the brick and mortar school from say 8 to 12 p.m. on Monday morning. You may have a week or two to get your assignment done. So 24 hours in a day. I know, I'm sorry I'm that guy, but I'm trying to eliminate and reduce barriers. Online has made it easier for people to get degrees. But with that, I say buyer beware, because I've heard stories from people that, hey, you know what? I signed up for this college. I sent it because I sent in all my transcripts, and then they're going to give me a degree. I'm like, did you take any classes with them? No classes at all. They just took all these transcripts, because that's what happens a lot, especially with firefighters, is you may have transcripts from a number of different schools because you maybe did some stuff at this school, did some that stuff at that school, did some stuff at that school. And then you got all these different transcripts, but nothing to show for it. I know there's some programs that'll take all those things and then take your life experience. Well, you've been on the job as a firefighter for 5 years. That counts for something. Okay, I guess so. If you're paying, when I say buyer beware here, if you're not having to do much of anything except pay money for a degree, maybe it's too good to be true. And I want you to do some research, and I want you to do some homework, because there have been some online programs around the country that have been shut down because of fraudulent activity, meaning they never made you attend a class, just pay money, and they took all your transcripts. Well, that seems a little fishy if you didn't have to do any work to get a degree. Understand the differences too between regionally accredited versus nationally accredited colleges, especially for online, because there's a difference between regional and national. Because depending on what you want to do, regional or national could make a difference. Because if you want to transfer to, say, a higher school, like let's say you want to do your 2-year degree online, that's great. And then you want to maybe transfer to another school, brick and mortar, or you just want to do a 2-year degree online, a 4-year degree online, but then transfer to a graduate school. Well, like I shared in other presentations, always be looking out to your future. Always be looking 5 steps out, 10 steps out, 5 years out, 10 years out. If you're working on your 2-year degree now and you're thinking at some point that you want to get your 4-year degree and maybe a graduate degree, because maybe you want to be a fire chief at some point, or deputy assistant chief, or you just want to have that, for whatever reason, degree, maybe for your retirement. Start looking at those requirements to get into graduate school and maybe your 4-year degree, because depending on what they say, the school you're going to today may not transfer. And I see that happen where you spend money and maybe some time, and then that degree or those units don't transfer because maybe they're considered not maybe credible, for lack of a better term. Also, when you get on the job as a firefighter, it's not uncommon for some fire departments within their union labor management or labor agreements, their contract, to have incentives for people to get degrees. Some departments, if you get a 2-year degree, will pay you 5% extra as an educational incentive. Some departments will give you maybe an extra 5% if you got a 4-year degree. Again, 2-year degree or 4-year degree, you may get extra pay. Or on the flip side, if they don't give you a bonus every paycheck, they may pay for some of that. Like my department, we give tuition reimbursement, meaning if you're attending a college and you submit your invoice, I guess, or your payment for your semester class, we actually pay a portion of that as part of our pre-agreed upon, pre-negotiated labor contract. So we'll pay up to like $4,000 a year, and you go, that's a lot of money. It really isn't. For look at the cost of education today, especially with online programs and other things. Education is not cheap, but it's better than nothing. And we, like I said, we've got a very generous tuition reimbursement program that I'm very proud of. But again, it's something better than nothing, but don't expect your employer to pay for all your education. It's nice when it happens. And I know occasionally there are some cities or fire departments that do pay all or some, but expect to pay it yourself. But again, there's a lot of options out there. Do your homework to make sure you're doing the right things. I don't think there is one is better than the other, because at the end of the day, the degree is the degree. As long as the degree is from a reputable place. There's a number of fire departments in the last 5-10 years, if you do some Google searches on firefighters, that had either submitted for tuition reimbursement, or they were getting like 5% every paycheck as a incentive for having that degree they just got from like an online program. And it was determined, I don't know how they determined it, but it was determined that those schools that they got their degrees from were basically called Diploma Mills, meaning the person that got the degree pretty much just paid money and really didn't have to do anything to get the degree, short of pay a lot of money. Well, now those firefighters are having to pay back the money and maybe subject to disciplinary action. And then it's easy for people to say, well, I didn't know, I just signed the school. Well, no, buyer beware, do your homework, because that money that you may be getting to go to school from your employer, and I know a lot of you are maybe not on the job yet, and you're thinking, this don't matter, I'm a future firefighter, I just want to get the degree. Well, yeah, that may be you, but you may also be on the job right now listening to this too, or watching this too. So just think about that as you move forward in your career. There is no right or wrong. Personally, to me, a degree in something is better than a degree in nothing. I've always used that, because people go, what type of degree should I get? Get a degree that you like. As we talk about degree types, obviously there's 2-year degrees, there's 4-year degrees, there's graduate degrees like masters and doctorates. A 4-year degree is plenty if you want to promote to fire chief. Now, if you look at a lot of fire chiefs though around the country, it's not uncommon for a lot of people that are in the fire chief position or police chief position or city manager position, department head type of position, to have 4-year, if not graduate degrees. So they're out there, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. Find your passion. Education's a good thing. I talked about 2-year degrees. Hopefully you can find a 2-year degree program that has EMT, maybe a Firefighter 1 Academy, maybe even a paramedic program. That's a bonus, because you don't just get a 2-year degree, but you also get other certifications out of it, some of which are required by some departments. So that's why I really say a 2-year degree in fire is awesome, because it's preparing you for the position, and it's really getting you ready for the whole firefighter hiring process, including the recruit academy, including probation, and more importantly, the job itself. Now, as for 4-year degrees, I get a lot of people that say, well, Steve, I've already got my 2-year degree in fire. What should I get my 4-year degree in? Fire science, fire administration? Well, 2-year degrees in fire are extremely common in most states. 4-year degrees in fire are rare at brick and mortar schools. Now, like in California, there's probably 40 to 50 colleges, 2-year colleges, that have 2-year degrees in fire science, fire technology. That's in California, 40 to 50. Last time I checked, I think there was like only 1 or 2 brick and mortar schools that had 4-year degrees. Now, with online programs, virtually every online program out there has a 2-year degree as well as a 4-year degree, and some of them even have graduate degrees. So that takes that off the mix. But here's the thing. A 2-year degree is perfect because it shows your passion, your commitment for what you're getting into. As for a 4-year degree, if you're not a firefighter yet, a lot of the stuff in a 4-year degree program is not going to make sense, because most 4-year degrees in fire are fire administration, fire leadership, company officer, especially chief officer positions. So here you are, a wannabe firefighter. The 4-year degree programs in a perfect world, you could get your 2-year degree first, get your general education out of the way. But then if you go for a 4-year degree, a lot of the administration, supervision, leadership stuff they talk about is not going to make sense to you, because you haven't done the job, unless you've already been a supervisor at another job you've held. So that's the problem. The context of the fire administration, fire leadership of 4-year degrees may not make sense. And not to say you can't do it or pass it, you probably could, but the true context of it doesn't make sense until you're in those positions. But I've always told people, get your 4-year degree in something that you are passionate about. I mean, I'm passionate about fire, obviously, but get something you're passionate about. My 4-year degree from Cal State Hayward, now Cal State East Bay, in Hayward, California, I got that before I started to become a firefighter. I went straight out of high school. There was no fire program at the time at Hayward. business, I wanted to do business, but then I couldn't pass the statistics and economics class, so I changed my major. But I graduated with criminal justice because that was the closest thing I could find at fire. I mean, police and fire, public safety, were joined at the hips. So I got my 4-year degree in criminal justice, and that was my argument when I was in interviews that, hey, there was no 4-year degree program in fire, so I got my 4-year degree in criminal justice, which is the closest thing I could get to fire, public safety. But I didn't want to be a police officer. I didn't want a law enforcement career. I respected law enforcement. My father used to be in law enforcement years ago, God rest his soul. But it was the closest thing to get, and I wanted to get a 4-year degree. And then here's where I segue that to. As soon as I finished up my 4-year degree, I immediately enrolled at Chabot College in Hayward to get my 2-year degree in fire technology, because I knew Chabot had the EMT program, a firefighter Wont academy as well. They had a paramedic program, but not at that time. So some people go, well, Steve, you already had your 4-year degree. Why did you get your 2-year degree in fire? Well, number one, I know I needed my EMT and my firefighter Wont academy to be more competitive, at least in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I knew that'd be a bonus. I also knew that I wanted to show my commitment, my passion, my dedication to the fire department, and that's how I could do it. I also was told years ago, prepare for the position. So I knew I wanted to get my 2-year degree in fire technology. The nice part about already having a degree from another college is that all of my general education classes transferred to Chabot College. So to get my 2-year degree in fire, I just needed to do the core fire classes. And I think I had 2 general education classes. And it was like, oh, heck, that's a no-brainer. So I could have gotten a fire science certificate, which is like the step below a degree, but I'm like, certificate, just the fire classes? To get the actual 2-year degree, man, that's just 2 general education classes. I can knock that out one semester. But you know what? I think I'm very happy that I did that. Again, it's nice to me. It's nice getting your degrees done before you're on the job, because I shared earlier, it's tough when you're already on the job trying to get shift trades, trying to get time off, and obviously online makes it a little bit easier to get things done. I get that. But hey, once you're on the job, working the schedule, sometimes the last thing on your mind is education. So that's why if you are in the position, I knew I wanted to be a fire chief or a chief officer long before I wanted to become a firefighter. Obviously, I knew I had to be the best firefighter I could be, because you have to usually get hired as a firefighter, get promoted to captain, then get promoted to chief officer. So I knew I had to work my way up the ranks. No problem there. But I also had a good idea of what I wanted to do 20, 30 years from when I got hired. So I'm glad I had the degrees done, because it made it very easy. And then I got hired, and then within a couple of years after getting hired, I saw Cal State Long Beach was offering a master's degree program. And it was like, why not? I wanted to become a fire chief at some point. Let's do it. And I'm glad I got my master's degree done 20 some years ago, give or take. I set myself up for fire chief. Now, am I a fire chief? No, I'm a deputy chief. I'm very happy at what I do. I took some fire chief exams locally, did well, I think I probably made the top 5, give or take. Could I be a fire chief? Yeah. Am I qualified to be a fire chief? Yeah. Do I want to be a fire chief? Don't know. I guess time will tell. But I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now, and that gives me the chance to obviously share this information with you, as I could obviously if I was a fire chief too. But different types of degrees. Think about your future, where you want to be. As for your major, I talked about that, but a 2-year degree in fire is perfect, because it shows your dedication and commitment, and you'll learn more than your future fire department will ever be able to teach you, as I've shared in other episodes. As I tell people, if you want a 4-year degree or higher, maybe get it in a non-fire subject. And I only say that because I know it's good to be positive, and it's good to be able to say, well, I'm going to get my degree, and then I'm going to have a 30-year career in the fire service, or a 40-year career, 20-year career. I mean, it's so easy to push out going, that's going to be me. Hey, not all of our dreams come true. Not everyone that wants to become a firefighter, that tests to become a firefighter, ever becomes a firefighter. I mean, I see a lot of students every semester that start the program. How many actually start versus get hired? A lot less, obviously. I mean, few get hired, many start. So for all those folks, here's the challenge. That degree in fire is great if you become a firefighter or work in the fire departments. There's a lot of different fire jobs, not just firefighter, that can be had. But if you don't become a firefighter, that 2-year degree in fire is pretty much useless. I mean, to a certain degree. Now, that's why I say 4-year degree or higher. Think about the future. Maybe, I mean, it's okay to get it in fire, but again, what happens if you don't become a firefighter? Or what happens if you get injured on the job? It's not uncommon to have firefighters get medically disabled because of the physical job that we do. It's a physical job that injures a lot of folks. It's not uncommon for half the firefighters or more in many communities, if not most communities, to retire out on medical disabilities, meaning they don't get to retire out with a full retirement. Get out healthy. They get out on an injury because, like I said, it's a dangerous, hazardous job. So then what are they left with? I mean, like I said, hopefully you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to be able to do something different or do something that you enjoy doing, more importantly. I touched on doing something upon retirement. Not everyone works in retirement. That's not the goal for everybody, but some people, depending on where you work, what part of the country you're in, it's not uncommon for people in the Midwest, the South, other parts of the country, they do 20, 30 years in a fire department because they got hired at 20 years old, they retire at 50. Well, retirements and pension plans are not as great as they used to be. Most communities, the retirements and pension benefits for firefighters are not that awesome. So unless you've saved a lot of money or, lived within your means, you're probably going to have to work a second job in retirement. Your pension probably won't cover you. So that's why I say the benefit of having a degree that could be maybe used in a different line of work if you can't find maybe other fire employment. Personally, though, a good salesperson, which is you during your oral board, not in a slimy, weaselly way, but a good salesperson, credible, respectful, sincere, can sell any type of degree to an oral board and or a fire chief. And I say that because I've heard people say, well, Steve, I got a 4-year degree in bartending. I'm just making that up. I don't know if there is one in bartending, or a 4-year degree in, I don't know what, social studies. It has nothing to do with the fire department. I go, huh? We didn't require a degree to begin with. So instead of trying to dwell on the negative, how about dwelling on the positive? So if you think about it, as I tell people, let's say you got a 4-year degree or 2-year degree in bartending. Okay. We don't have bars and firehouses, I hope. I know there's still some bars around the country in certain parts of the United States, and those are getting hopefully taken away. Sorry, especially if you're a career firefighter, you got 10 days a month, forced sobriety, and if you enjoy a beer or alcoholic beverages, that's what you got 20 days off a month for. Nothing wrong with that. The point is, think about bartending, for example. If you got a degree in anything, you usually had to go through general education classes, which do have a lot of are very applicable to your future life and your future career, if you really think about it. They've hopefully taught you some good skills in other areas to be able to be a better person, be a better employee. And think about it as a bartender. You're not going to be making drinks in the firehouse, sorry. Hey, maybe off duty, hey, that's a different story. Maybe at the off-duty party or something, but for on the job, think about it. You probably learn customer service skills, and not just a degree in bartending, but especially if you've worked as a bartender. Customer service skills, obviously financial skills, obviously people skills, because if you were not a nice person as a bartender, you probably didn't last long, or if usually those lines of work, service industry, require you to be good at customer service. So customer service, financial, there's a lot of things you can apply. So that's the key is, I don't care what degree you have or what your background was. If you're smart and you're talented, which any one of us has the potential to be, you can tie it into the fire department. And that's, I think, how you wonder how did that person that has a bartending degree get hired as a firefighter? Well, guess what? They connected with that oral board and they convinced that oral board there was something about them that made them a good fit for the fire department and a good representative of that community while on the job and off the job. So college degree won't necessarily get you the job. Hey, nothing gets you the job. Just because you're a paramedic, you're not guaranteed a job. But anyway, it will help set you up for success for future promotional opportunities. And you'll also learn numerous things that your fire department will never be able to teach you. So with that, as always, I thank you very much for the gift of your time. My contact information, please feel free to connect with me on social media. Please feel free to reach out if I can ever be of assistance. Again, I'm hoping you're finding some value to the information that I'm sharing based on my years of experience. I just have a passion for helping others, as I shared earlier, and I just want to pay it forward to the future. So until the next time, take care, be safe, and be well, everybody.